Welcome to Philly Fortune Talks with your host, Jake Penny, where the city's brightest minds share the secrets behind their success. Are you ready to be inspired?
Ever wonder how to excel in global project management and business strategy? Today, we dive into the expertise of Mohit Chopra, a dynamic executive in the real estate industry with a background in supply chain and strategy leadership across consumer goods, medical devices, and pharmaceuticals. Mohit has mastered the art of delivering quality results through teamwork and planning. Known for his methodical and process-oriented approach, Mohit excels in fast-paced, complex environments, navigating cultural differences across four continents, from leading successful audits to tech transfer programs to managing post-merger integrations. His strategic leadership has driven significant gains. Mohit, welcome to Philly Fortune Talks.
Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So your career in various industries is actually really impressive. Can you share what initially motivate you to pursue a career in supply chain and strategy, and then eventually evolve into real estate?
Yeah, I mean, what I would start with is you will hear as a typical story from any Indian immigrant who came in with an engineering degree. So it's a similar aspect. Like I had a chemical engineering degree when I came in here in the US, and I'm gonna try to give him I won't try to give him my age, but it was 2002 time frame. So a few years back, I would just say that. Uh, but again, so I came in with a chemical engineering degree, did my master's here, went into supply chain, try to earn the typical 9 to 5 job, like with some credence of what I thought we used to be was a good paying job, which is a good paying job. But what the second aspect along with the good paying job was the aspect of security, right? And that's what I thought it was. Like there's a security aspect when you go into a good paying job versus a consulting job, right? And it changed over the last, I would say 5 to 10 years. Like within 5, 10 years into the job, I realized there's no security blanket. Um, so but to your point, how I started into it, that's what it was. It was about getting a high paying job with some level of security. But that second part changed pretty quickly, or recently. Yes.
So what inspired you to transition into the real estate industry, and what was your vision for your role in that?
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Again, my story, this is where I might have a very common story, but it dissects a little bit, where what I learned was my security from a job position perspective wasn't that secure. So I went, okay, what can I do? I delved into how can I get to a higher level of excuse me, management within the corporate sector, right? And I got approval to get my MBA done. So my company sponsored me for my MBA, and I got into MBA. I applied for like I don't know 7 institutes, got into the top one, which was
Mm.
another remarkable. Like I got my MBA from Wharton, executive MBA from there. So spent 2 years working full time and doing an MBA. And during the MBA, it kind of transitioned in terms of what my prospect of future looks like. Like my my introspect world of looking into going into MBA, the reason was to get into the corporate ladder and get the next level of scale and get higher level of job security. But realized quickly working into the numbers as we get again, Wharton is really high into entrepreneurship, but also really into the analytical aspect. So I went into the numbers, looked, did some deep analysis, and I had a like really cool system of like 6 people who were part of my cohort as part of the MBA. And as part of that analysis, I realized quickly that this the vision that I had really transitioned into what I wanted to accomplish. So I think there was a gap between what I thought would get me where I wanted to be versus what my envision and the plan was. So that plan changed quickly during the MBA or post MBA, especially when I got into some commercial real estate classes and also entrepreneurial classes as well. So I try to merge the two things together in terms of what's the best avenue for me. Again, this is where it's me personal in terms of my story of where I was with my age. I had kids, at two kids at that time. I was a main earner. So I couldn't really take that risk of going full time on the entrepreneurial journey by myself. So I took that transition of working the full time, which I'm still doing. I have a full time job, but I've tried to build the real estate on the side slowly, right? So it's been 4 years plus during that journey, but we've slowly built that kind of entrepreneurial venture, if you could say that, uh, where we have built the real estate capital across. We are at 130 plus stores, but slowly we build that across 4 years.
That's awesome. 100 and what did you say, 134 doors?
Yeah, that's where we are currently. I am
That's awesome.
currently, yes. That's what I own personally, yes. But again,
Wow.
it's not always about the doors. This is the other
Right.
innovation. So I've seen a lot of people talk about the doors, but what I realized quickly, that's what I was before when I started, like how many doors I can buy.
Hmm.
Uh, But when I started realizing, delving into, again, it's all about the numbers, right? So what is your goal? If my goal is about cash flow, if my goal is to earn certain net worth, they are two different goals, right? So what my accomplishment, like what I'm trying to get to is that I have two different metrics. I do have cash flow, plus I do have net worth as well. And I'm trying to accomplish that. And that's where I am diversifying personally as well. But coming back to the main point, it's not always about the doors. It's about what metric is driving you, what metric accomplishes the goal that you're trying to get to. The doors, number of doors is not the goal. What is
Right.
your goal? The goal is the cash flow. Is it a net worth? What you're trying to get to. That's what should drive what your metric is.
Yeah,
So
go
no, but that's my point. Like people get so hung up on number of doors. That's not the metric I look for. I look for the two metrics that I track simultaneously. And that's what every individual should do as well. Again, the doors, the assets, everything is driven by what you are trying to accomplish. So real estate is such a massive, uh, like, I don't know, class that different people with different goals can accomplish those. But what you should track against is your individual goals, what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're in I think two of the same masterminds. Um,
Yeah.
and you'll see, I mean, you're well aware of this, but for the listeners, is that somebody will say, "Hey, I have like 4,000 doors." That's great and dandy and all, and that's an awesome accomplishment. However, if you really break down the numbers, they may be
Yes.
only cash flowing $25,
Mhm.
$30 a door. Now, on a grand scale thing, that's a lot. But if you are cash flowing $300 a door, you don't need as many doors.
Yes.
And that's something that I saw when I was in that mastermind that I didn't really totally like, right? Because it would take a long time for me to build that lifestyle and become, be able to step away from certain things by
Right.
getting a fraction of that cash flow per door. So we've been doing similar things where we own 100% of our doors.
Right.
And the cash flows well above the norm in syndication.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, that's still that's
I think that's the reason, Jake, you and I connected as well, because our thought process was very similar. Because again, we live in a world where social media overtakes the reality to a certain extent, right?
yep,
And people, when you post, oh, I own 3,000 doors, but the reality is you don't own 3,000 doors,
right,
truly, right? Like you own a percentage of the 3,000 doors because most of these are syndications. Not that I'm downing on syndication. Syndications are good. I have done
right,
syndication in the past. I haven't been able to do it in the last year and a half because of the numbers just don't work based on where the debt market is at. But my point is focus on your metric and try to accomplish that. And there are multiple ways you can and you should try to do JV deals as well as syndication as well. But try to focus on the metric that you're trying to accomplish versus, uh, I don't know, like a fake metric that people have created, like doors or I don't know what else is there. Asset. Oh, that's the other one. Assets under
assets under
management. That's the other way.
management.
Yeah, AUM.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
AUM, right? Assets under management. Oh, I am part of 20 other people that own 20, 30 million assets under management. Well, that's fine.
Yep. They don't tell you about the LPs or the split,
Right.
uh, and
Yeah,
all that stuff. Yeah, it
exactly.
sounds cool from outside. It's great for social media. Hey, I have thousands of doors and I
Mm.
have $100 million AUM. But really, at the end of the day, what is your fraction of that?
Exactly.
That's
That's what it comes down to.
it's always half truths. That's all.
Yeah.
Which I don't really like. I love, transparency, integrity, and full honesty.
Yeah.
Um, and I rather just people just be true to the point than say, they're living the high life on $10 a door and they have, 1,000 doors, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But no, you're doing awesome stuff. What has your experience in different industries influenced your leadership style, and also what you've started to bring into building a portfolio that you have today in real estate?
So I think if I, again, to be honest, you haven't given me any questions in forward. Like I don't know these questions that are coming forward. So I'm trying to think on the moment as well. Um, in that retrospect, if I think about this, right, like the experience that I have in terms of managing so I manage about a $20 million portfolio in my current job, right? And during the year, we always go through ups and downs with regards to adjustment that we have to do to manage the spend and the budget that we have, right? I think that's very truly, I've translated to the real estate world as well, where we go into an asset with a certain performer, right? And I have like, I don't know, 7 examples of what I've done during the last 3 years, but do I accomplish 100% of the performer? It would never, if anybody says they have accomplished everything on the performer, they are freaking lying to their tooth, right? Like,
Right.
yes, maybe you can achieve close to 90% of the actual end results, but every line item, you cannot.
Hmm.
So there's always ups and downs again, and that's what it comes down to. So what I've translated from my current job is understanding what the bottom line looks like and how you adjust the top line and the bottom line to reach the bottom line, right? Like the expenses and the overall, uh, uh, well, expenses is the biggest piece, but in most cases, people focus on is the revenue, right? That's revenue has limited option in terms of what you can or cannot do, but there are additional things that we have accomplished in the past that have increased the overall top line, which is the overall revenue. So not just the rents, but the additional income that you're going to accomplish. Um, so the adjustment across as we go through and you monitor month to month, you should look at the top line, you should look at the expenses, but you should always look at the bottom line, what the total NOI looks like, and that's what we have done. I think the focus on those three aspects has really helped us achieve uh, not just the returns, but beyond the returns that we have in the performer. So again, performer is just a guideline, a framework for you to get into a deal. If somebody is trying to get into a line by line item, accomplishing exactly the same numbers, you're gonna kill yourself. You're not gonna be able to accomplish that, right? The main line that you're trying to good at is like trying to get to is what is the top line looks like in terms of total revenue, what it look like to the total expenses, and main framework is if you're projecting 50% or 40% expenses, are you achieving that? And that's what our focus is from day one, working with the property management teams that we're working with, like having the expectations set straight. And we get 40%, which we had projected. But if we achieve more on the top line, what means is our bottom line has gone up, right? So that's where we try to get to. And that's what we have actually done most of the time. It's not that we have reduced our expenses beyond what we had expected. Like if we had projected 50%, we have achieved like say 49% most of the times. But it's not a big gain. The big gain comes from the top line that we have achieved, like additional income. What are the sources of income without reducing the expenses that we can achieve?
Mm. Mm. So, like, balancing or integrating your professional commitments with your personal life, whether that's still in the W-2 or in the real estate, building your portfolio. I mean, that can be pretty challenging for some people. Some people
Yeah.
are, Superman and dialed in all the way. But what daily habits or routines help you stay focused and effective?
So I'm lucky in certain cases. So it's two things I would say. I'm really lucky that my current job gives me a flexibility where my job actually starts early in the day. I start like 5:30, 6 o'clock. Most of my interaction is early with the European colleagues, so I do that meetings early in the morning. And by 12:30 to 2 o'clock, I'm actually done with most of my work because I start early in the morning,
Hmm.
right? So I start 5:30, 6 o'clock, be done by 12 to 2 o'clock. And then after that, I spend another 6 to 9 hours working on real estate. I do, again, this is where I have struggle. And again, I'll share with you personally, like this is where the struggle is. You cannot accomplish everything by yourself. My personal struggle has been balancing the real estate versus the personal life as well.
Hmm.
And uh, if I would say, oh, I have a target and I've accomplished that, it will be a lie, right? And that's what I currently trying to balance as well. Like trying to balance life of the kids and now with the summer, everything else. How do I manage that time which I had dedicated for real estate, like 8 to 10 hours in the afternoon till late night? And then I get up early in the morning. I get up 4:30 to go to gym, and then before that, I get to the gym so I can manage my health before I get started with the job. So how do I manage that aspect as well? So there's always that balance. Again, if I there's not a secret. I don't know. This time I'm still balancing it out. I don't know. There's something I could say. I did this and I've been doing it for the last 3 years and it works well. It's not been the case. It's every day, every month is different. Summers are different than winters. Winters are
For
different
sure.
than when the kids are not in school, like vacation. So it all depends on how I can balance my wife's schedule, my kid's schedule, and versus again we have a high uptake in terms of acquisition sometimes, and then it just takes away. I've had 2 months where I couldn't go to gym because of that reason, right? But that takes a toll on my health because that was the time there's a peak of acquisition time. um, there's always a balancing act between your personal life, between your professional life, between what you're trying to accomplish with your kids and families as well. So there's always like a four quadrant that you're trying to balance out, right?
Yeah, always navigating the waters on a day-to-day basis and just adjusting from there, like, turning into a chameleon to
Yeah.
just adjust with what life throws at you during, that day and move forward and just, hey, 1% better every day.
Yeah, 100%. That's all it is.
So what
That's all it is.
upcoming trends or and opportunities in the real estate industry you're most excited about?
So I think what we are working on, few opportunities we have. We know there's a lot more opportunities in the mid-sized market that we are targeting at. So our target is between 20 to 60 units, 20 to 70 sometimes, depending on the market. There are a lot more opportunities coming in, and especially with the current debt market. Uh, we know that there are a lot more sellers. So similar to the business market that's happening, where a lot more sellers are coming to the age, the similar aspects is happening in the real estate as well. But beyond that, there's a lot more debt coming due as well. And I know we heard stories. Now, I'm being cautiously optimistic about it. Most people think there's like a tsunami of these opportunities coming. I doubt there is a tsunami. But there will be some. So this is what we are targeting. So I don't think there will be like a big wave of opportunity that everybody is projecting at, because I think the lenders are working a lot of these deals as well in terms of restructuring the existing debt that they have with the current lenders. So not 100% of those debt providers are gonna put into foreclosure, right?
Right.
So even if it's like 25, 30%, I think we will still have a good opportunity, and that's what we're relying on. Um, so currently we have like right now we're working on two opportunities where we are buying, I don't know, 30 cents on a dollar currently. But because the the assets are, our whole structure is we go into heavy value add. So we buy assets that have really high capital cost to it. So we buy 20 to 40 cents on a dollar, put another 20 cents on the capex, and then we got all in at 60, like 50 to 60 cents on a dollar, and refi at a dollar, right? So normally you either sell or we refi. So even if at a dollar we get 75 cents out, we put in 60 cents, we actually make our money and actually get some more as well. Um, so again, I'm just putting on a dollar because you need to understand now that we're buying dollars worth of property, not that it exists. Uh, but what it comes down to is like we buy anywhere from I don't know, like last asset we bought like anywhere from 800,000 to 2 million, 3 million, I would say. Uh, and then we add some capex on top of it, but we get most of the money back or more as part of refi within our historical record has been between 9 to 15 months. We have turned over properties and we have refied all of our money and our investors' money as well. And when I say investors, these are mostly debt investors. So we take over debt, additional debt at 10 to 12%, and we guarantee that debt against our personal guarantees, where we are 5x to 10x versus the debt. So if we
Mhm.
own 500,000 debt, we have 5 million to 10 million of equity as a guarantee into the debt as well.
Got it. Yeah, we have very similar models when it comes to that. A lot of people are really focused on like the light lifts, the cosmetic, the quicker ones, and it's like, man, I wouldn't even know what to do. I'm so like, let's rip everything out. Let's start fresh, heavy gut,
Yeah,
heavy
yeah,
lift, and because that's where like true value is. Because majority
100%.
of the gurus out there don't they say to the new guys or whatever, they say stay away. So that just creates more opportunity for people like me and you.
Yeah, exactly. And again, to your point, I think you can do 10 of those deals and you will realize you will earn maybe smaller amount of chunk versus doing one of these larger uh, deals that we are working on. And the amount of time and effort you have to go through each of those one of these deals to closings, to rehab, to refinancing after that. You're just doing all of that in one big chunk at one time, and you're getting much better returns on everything.
Yeah, that's for sure. So how do you, approach financial planning to ensure stability and growth? Can you share a little about that?
So this is one thing I would say, I will highlight. This is the last aspect I would say. I learned very quickly into this world, especially when I delved into the larger scale in multifamily, that I would say 60% of the things covered, but I needed help to cover the other things. So I think that's where partnerships come in handy, especially when you go into larger scale. You need to find the right partner. So it took me about a year and a half, 2 years to find the right partner, but we eventually got did. And we are working together now as a single entity to build that partnership. Again, I contribute certain aspects. There's a complementary skill sets that she
Hmm.
provides, and we are working together now to build as a team. Um, and we're trying to rebrand because until now we have been doing our things individually. She has her own things going on as well. She's done really well on her side, and I've done decently well on my side as well. Um, but now together we are a different force together. So we're trying to rebrand, and so in next 2 to 3 months we'll be rebranding our own companies together in a single merger format as well. But we have been working for the last year and a half together in some way or form in terms of partnerships, in terms of JV structures. And now we realized during the 1 year of partnership that I think it's just better for us to just move together in singular direction because our aspects in terms of what we're trying to accomplish in terms of goals are very similar. The ethics are exactly the same. Um, and in terms of where we are, what we're trying to accomplish, the risk factors and everything else is very similar as well. So to answer your question succinctly, uh, you got to find out where your strengths are, and you cannot do everything by yourself, especially go to a larger scale, right? You got to build the right team, right partnerships, and bring in the people who can complement your skill sets.
Yeah, yeah. Don't be selfish and think you can do it all alone. You can accomplish way more with a team, a partner, and ultimately, you know, create that vision life that you want a lot quicker than you would just do it, lone wolf in it.
100%. Yes.
What's your thoughts on the importance of having multiple income streams?
So I'm probably not a big expert into giving advice because I only have three right now. I
Three is
have
more than majority of people. Majority of people have one. So, hey,
Yeah,
that's
no, I appreciate that, and again, it's you, and that's a very valid point you said, which is all about perspective, right? And yes, perspective is, yes, majority of people might look at me, and when I go to gym, it's the same perspective as well. I look at people who are really buffed up, and I say, yeah, like that's what I want to be. But there are people who are heavier than me or trying to get to my shape, and this is all about perspective, what you're trying to
Yep.
get to. So as you get to the next stage, you keep looking at the next stage, right? That's the accomplishment in terms of your next goal. But coming back to your point, I think I started with one stream of income. That's exactly what I told you what my whole objective of getting the real estate was because I only had my W-2 income. And I realized quickly, being the main source of income from the household, that you can always think a W-2 income in a big corporate world is very reliable versus a consulting job because that's where we're taught to be. Because when you go, and again, I started as a consultant, so I know that you get paid much more as a consultant versus W-2 because the whole proposition is it's a very stable job versus a consultant, which is a durational. Uh, but coming back to the point was that even W-2 is not that stable, right? We know the stability or the lifespan might be more than a year, which is what a consultant's gig is. But it's not like 20 plus years or 30 plus years that it used to be in what our parents grew up as. So what I realized quickly, you got to start second or third stream of income. And that's what I did. So I have passive income coming in from again, from real estate that we own. We also doing flips on the side. Uh, and we are in the process as part of building our real estate portfolio. We are in the stage where we are trying to buy businesses that tie in vertically to our real estate portfolio, right? So I think, and again, I'm not saying anything new. Like a lot of people that you have seen going into real estate have done the same exact thing, right? They build, actually have bought actual businesses to build a fourth or third stream of income coming in from a business side as well. And that's where we are at. So currently we are at the fourth stream. Eventually, I don't know. The fifth stream we're looking at still eventually might be coaching online. We don't know. Yeah, that's where
Yeah.
we are at.
I'm totally with you when it comes to building parallel businesses that align with real estate. I'm totally on the same boat right now. Things that we already do on a day-to-day basis that but we might be using somebody else for, but we
Yeah,
know we can definitely do that as well, or like use them to bring it in-house and offer that service out to somebody else. And it doesn't take much more because you're already in the environment. Um, so yeah, that I love that idea. It's been something that I've been, contemplating on actually, more so very recently too.
yeah.
Uh, so what are your long-term goals with real estate and how do you plan to achieve them?
So very interesting you asked that, Jake. I actually have a meeting with my partner later on in the summer. We are meeting up along with our families to delve into that. We're creating a 3 year and a 5 year plan as well. And to answer your question, I don't know the answer yet. We still are working on it. Does the plan includes number of units? Certainly no. Does the plan include certain number of cash flow? Yes. That is what we're targeting. So again, we are focused on a key metric. Now, a secondary metric that might help us accomplish it might be number of units, but that's not what we focus on. Our more focus is more on our key metric. So we'll redefine that. Again, I'm sorry, I don't have the clear answer of what we're trying to get to in 3 to 5 years, but what I realized, again, I'll just do one thing. I'll share one thing that I know most of the people who heard might have heard already, which is that people, especially when you set goals, they overestimate what they can accomplish
Hmm.
in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 to 10 years. And that is what our focus is 5 to 10 years. And we are trying to target that. Like 3, 5, 10 is what our key focus is. 1 year is a trajectory to get to that. So that's what we're building our business on, based on that fact that we have a long-term metric that we're trying to accomplish versus a 1 year goal that everybody tries to get to and then fail, and then they just boggle down.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I used to be so like close-minded where I used to see, like do my goals for the year and I wouldn't necessarily hit them. I'd be all bent out of shape, you know. But then I would look back on the last 3 years and be like, holy crap, you
Right.
really accomplished a lot. Why aren't you grateful? Why don't you have gratitude for that
Yes.
and see like, man, if you did that in this amount of years, just think you're that much more knowledgeable. So you can probably cut the time down that it took to accomplish that in the next X amount of years and look how much further you'll be then.
Right.
That's again perspective.
It is. It is all about perspective. And the same thing, perspective goes into the last thing I would say. My wife complains about it sometimes in terms of money that we're pulling out of the business, right? But it's all about perspective as well. My perspective right now is taking all the cash we are getting, putting it back into the business, building the business.
Mm.
Because at this time, I mean, my kids are only 10 or 14 years old, so I don't have college or other expenses. Like, vacation wise, we barely, like, we do 1 or 2 vacations. They're not extravagant vacations at all. So we are putting all our money into it. And again, we own 2 cars that we own, like 10 years old cars. So again, the perspective is similar to what most of the rich people will tell you. Money is not to be spent. Money is to be invested to build the future as well. That's what we are trying. That's what I'm individually trying to accomplish as well. Like even with the real estate as well, I have not taken a dime out of the real estate world. Like in terms of all the cash flow that we have generated, we have put it back into the business in terms of new acquisitions, down payments for the new properties that we buy, or the capex or the percentage that we have to put in for the capex as well.
Yeah, money and real estate is the vehicle to take you to the destination that you want to be. And I was the
Yes,
same. I didn't take an ounce, well, myself, and my partner, Liana, we didn't take a profit for the first, you know, 5 years or
right.
distribution, whatever you want to call it. And we just reinvest it. Um, but no, that's Mahit, that's an awesome journey that you're on now and what you're going towards. So for listeners who want to connect with you and learn more about your work and maybe, learn more about your projects, what's the best place for them to go to?
Okay, you asked me why I don't have my phone with me, so but anyway, I think LinkedIn you can find Mohit Chopra. Just type in Mohit Chopra. You will find me, Mohit Chopra, Johnson and Johnson. I guess that's what you should look at. Uh, and I'll text you my links to all the other profiles. You can put it as part of the interview link as well. In terms of, I'm on Instagram, Facebook. Well, main platform that I'm on is Facebook. So Mohit Chopra 12. That's where my link is on Facebook. Um, and then I'll send you the links for the Instagram, Facebook, and I'm also on Twitter as well. So 4 platforms that I'm on: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, check out the show notes for his other links to get a hold of him. And Mohit, it was a pleasure having you on Philly Fortune Talks.
Thank you, Jake, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Philly Fortune Talks with Jake Penny. Inspired to share your success story? Visit phillyfortunetalks.com/guest and let's inspire together.